Knoxy and Kax Show with Liz Knox and Karell Emard. Let's get it.
Welcome back to the Knoxy and Kax Show, brought to you by SDPN and the PWPHA. Today's episode is inspired by one of the most prominent leaders in the hockey world and in the community. Graduate of Minnesota Duluth, three-time Olympian, assistant captain for Team Canada, representing the PWPHA Toronto Team Sonnet. We call her Juicy J, but you can call her Jocelyne Larocque.
I love that.
Oh my God.
First time I hear this nickname.
Yeah.
I mean, not a lot of people know it, but the people that do, like Stace all year would just call me Juicy J, and yeah. So
now they know.
Now they know.
Seriously,
now everyone knows.
can we know the meaning behind it, or that's a story for later?
It was super random. It was actually Erica Howe. She just randomly called. We were playing cards one day, and she just called me Juicy J, and I looked at her like, "What'd you call me?" And it stuck.
I love it. I love those.
So we were just talking. You were in Peterborough this weekend. The game hosted by the Petes of the OHL, and it was such a great experience. I think from players' standpoint, fan standpoint, the Petes organization did an amazing job, organizing us, showing up, giving us a professional environment. And of course, Becca King scored the opening goal on the game. And she just so happened to basically walk right around Kax and then me. So
because Knoxy and I were playing on the same team. Okay.
Yes.
For those of you that were, that didn't see it or didn't get to see it, Knoxy was representing Montreal, and I thought I had, her sized up, and she was going to go, and she toe dragged it. How did you? Well, one, was she pumped about it? She was pumped
about it. It was funny. I was teasing her because she's normally a passer, but there was no one else to pass to. So she just figured, I guess I got to put this one in myself. And unfortunately, I actually missed it. We were doing the puck drop, and then we were signing some autographs and things like that. And then I heard the crowd cheer really loud. And I was like, I think that's a Toronto goal. I wasn't really sure who was the home crowd, but I was like, I'm going to say that that's a Toronto goal. And then I heard number 2, Becca King, that scored. So I got to see the replay though. So that was good.
Yeah, so did I. It was really fun to watch over and over again. I was like, okay. I think it was the first shot of the game too. I was like, well, that's what you get for coming out of retirement, Knoxy. Pack your bags, go back in.
No, but we didn't help you on that, Knoxy. We didn't help. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, you know what? It was really fun. It was a cool experience getting to play for Montreal, because this is a team that I've only ever played against, and the team was awesome. You guys are so welcoming. And it was fun for me because, of course, Erica Howe played for Toronto, and, depending on what happens next year, may have been one of her last games, kind of at the pro level. So I was happy that I got to share the ice with not only the fantastic players in Montreal, but that I could watch her and be on the ice with her in one of her last games. So, and you, of course, Joss, you were talking about the opening puck drop. We had Coach Cal out, which was so cool. So cool. Cassie Campbell's mom came out. Jaina, of course, was there. It was a star-studded red carpet for that opening face-off. Somebody said the centers taking the face off were way almost at the blue lines. It was quite the
fun. Even going to be in the picture. They were so far.
They didn't really care about the players. They're like, okay, let's get this. And Jamie Lee Rattray, of course, dropped the puck with you as well, and pulled her Team Canada jersey off to reveal a Team Sonnet jersey, which awesome. I appreciated as a Team Sonnet, OG. But it was a cool move. What did you think of the atmosphere in the game?
Oh, it was fantastic. Like what you said, they did such a great job hosting. It was super organized. Everything was, I saw your guys' itinerary. I've never seen an itinerary like that before. It was so detailed.
We literally looked at it and we're like, this was not put together by any of us. It was down to the second.
Seriously. But no, the fans were having a blast, and everyone just loved the game. They were so impressed by the skill and the competitiveness, and so was I. It was super fun to watch. I have a hard time watching games. I always want to be playing, but I definitely enjoyed watching. It was a lot of fun.
It was the crowd ultra loud at times too. I don't know what they had there going on or whatever, but there's a mix of like younger kids and obviously like parents and everything. And I could even hear Team Harvey's go. So like the crowd was kind of like mixed on both, but the atmosphere, you're right. Like the energy the fans were bringing was fabulous. It was so sick. And yeah, it was good to see all these younger players or girls that could see us. And that is one thing that was brought up after the fact. Like Peterborough never really had, or hosted a women's game before in terms of like the PWPHA or the CWHL. So I was pumped to be there. And it was my first time in Peterborough as well too.
And it was funny. It was funny because I was talking to Burton, who was one of the organizers. Him and Shelby did a fantastic job, so we have to shout them out. I actually went to university with Burton. We were the same 4 years at Laurier, but he was saying that demographically, Peterborough is like among the oldest cities, like in terms of fan demographics in the OHL. So he's like, we can get sold out crowds, but like something happens and it's kind of like golf clap. Yeah. So he was like, I've never heard this barn so loud. And Kax is right. Like it was like shrieking, I'm at a Taylor Swift concert. Like
it was crazy.
It was so fun.
Loud. It was awesome.
Yeah. Great to be a part of. So obviously that's, we're sending our thanks to the Petes. And, I hope that down the road we can find ourselves back there, even if it's just for a game or two, because they were amazing. So let's start talking about a little bit about Joss, which, like most of our guests is a hard thing for her to do. So we're going to try to pull some stories out of you and allow you to talk about yourself. So we'll start with your upbringing. You grew up in St. Anne, Manitoba, and you grew up playing with what they call the St. Anne Three, which was yourself, Bailey Bram, and your cousin, Melanie Gagnon.
That was good.
Yeah.
That was really good.
Yeah. I was just thinking like the lottery machine, like winner, Gagnon. But tell us, that's beside the point. Tell us about, growing up in St. Anne and playing with those two.
I never really played with my cousin. She actually played with my sister my sister played for the University of Manitoba Bison. So there was a lot of really though in the entire town, it was only the four of us that played like from pretty much like 5 years old to like 18. Actually, Bailey's younger sister also played, but we were always like the only girls on our team. A couple of years, Bailey would move up and play with me because she was very good. It was honestly, my cousin and my sister paved the way because they were the first two girls that played. I don't know any girls older than them that played. So they really paved the way for me and made it, I don't want to say acceptable because honestly, St. Anne, they were great to me. The parents, I hear horror stories of girls playing boys hockey. I had a harder time with the teams that I played against. I had a lot of fans like, get the girl, and like dads on the glass. And it's like, what are you doing? But no, the town of St. Anne, they were fantastic. And again, like my sister and my cousin paved the way for me and made it like normal to play. But honestly, like growing up in a small town, my dream when I was a kid was to play in the NHL because I didn't know of girls hockey at all until the 98 Olympics, until I was like, wait, there's Team Canada girls hockey. Like this is insane. So I mean, being the only girl, it was tough at times. Like I'd get teased here and there, but the town was great. They were awesome.
And I love to hear that, honestly, because Pooh said it in her episode last time too. And that was very much my experience of boys hockey. Like, I only played a couple of years, but like those guys like protected, if anything, like if someone came after me, it was like game on. Like that was green light to just like, you will not touch our goalie. Like you will not touch our female athletes. Like, so I love that was your experience too. And yeah, of course, the opposition, I mean, that's their job, is to try to get under our skin.
It's just because they don't know it. I had the same thing, Joss, like parents screaming and telling me to go back to the kitchen and everything. And the parents would fight. Like the parents would fight in the stands, like to like basically grow up, sir. Like you're being an idiot. But the guys that I played with were super sweet, but it's always the same group, right? I'm from a small town too. And, they kind of, I met them, I was 4 and then played on their team till I was 16. So they know you and everything. And then you get the opponents and the parents are like, she's taking the spot of a guy, or she is like, and that's where it's almost a frustration on their part that's coming through. And to me, it was a motivation. I'm like, watch me. Like, you want me to go back to the kitchen? Nah, watch me beat your son, basically.
Which when I was younger, I don't know if I was taking a spot, so I was always on the B team, but I mean,
you should have made the A team every time, Josh.
It took me a while to make the A team, but eventually I did.
Good.
That's why I was always playing with Bailey, because she would move up a level. So
you guys just meet in the middle.
Right? I liked it. I always had a girl on my team. I figured my sister and my cousin get to be teammates, and Bailey and I get to be teammates. So
yeah, that's fun.
That's so good.
You guys 4 strong in St. Anne. And then, more recently in 2018 and 2021, you've been awarded a few pretty cool recognitions here. So the Manitoba Indigenous Female Athlete of the Decade, which that's huge. And the Tom Longboat Award from the Aboriginal Sports Circle in 2018. So talk a little bit about your Métis heritage and, how it feels to be recognized, in such high regard.
I mean, honestly, both awards, I was completely shocked. The Indigenous Athlete of the Decade, I heard that I was nominated, and I remember just being like, wow, that's incredible to be nominated. And then when I found out that I won, the lady called me, and I didn't say anything. And she's like, "Are you still there?" And I said, "I'm sorry. I don't even know what to say. Like, that's really incredible." And I'm like, "Thank you." So I got really awkward. I just couldn't even believe it. I'm like, of the decade, that's insanity. But no, I mean, I feel honored, honestly. And I think it's so important for, people of all different cultures to be, for young kids to be able to see and to have role models, and role models are important everywhere, whether it's hockey, everywhere in the world, in all aspects of life. So if I can inspire, a kid that's similar to me to chase their dreams, I mean, that's so important in life. So if I can inspire anyone, I mean, it's a huge honor. So I was very, just kind of speechless, really.
And I love that, because I actually have Métis heritage as well. My grandma is Métis, and part of the identity of the Métis culture is kind of not fitting in. Like you're too white to be considered Aboriginal, and because you have Aboriginal blood, you can't be considered white. So I love the fact that, you are representing your heritage, and that other people now are becoming encouraged to talk about where they come from, because it is important, and you become more of a role model than probably you really know. So really cool to see you recognized in those circles. And then after your time in St. Anne, you went on to Minnesota Duluth. We love to understand how you made, how our guests make those decisions, because it's never easy. So talk about a little bit about the recruitment process and how you ended up at UMD.
Yeah, I mean, it can be very overwhelming. I was the first person in my family and even in my extended family to go to college. So it was, I remember just thinking wow, this is overwhelming and kind of, just a lot to take in. I remember my mom really wanted me to go to an Ivy League school. She was like, I couldn't even imagine if my kid went to an Ivy League school. I went to Harvard, and I thought, I don't think I'm going to fit in here. It's for some people. It is not for me. So unfortunately, I maybe let my mom down a little bit.
I doubt that.
I went to Duluth, and I just loved the culture. It's like a smaller town, so it made me feel comfortable. It was only 6 hours from my hometown, which was pretty neat, that then my family could come watch me play. And a neat little side piece, my grandpa, who's my grandparents drove me to almost every game. They would watch all my games growing up, and he traveled for work, and one of his destinations was Duluth, and he was going to retire the year before that I went to Duluth. And he said, if you go to Duluth, I'll keep working another 4 years. So he'd visit me every month. So that was a really neat part. So he watched probably more games than my parents did. And it was nice to have him around every 4 to 5 weeks. So that when he said that, I said, okay, I'm going to go to Duluth. So that kind of put the icing on the cake for me.
There's like a whole family decision. I like it. That's so cool.
Yeah.
How far is the school from St. Anne?
It would be about like 6.5 hours.
Okay.
So not too bad. And then what's nice about the WCHA is like, well, at the time there was Grand Forks, which was only an hour and a half. The Midview like 3 or 4 hours. So a lot of the schools are pretty close.
So your road trip games were close to home.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's good. That's good. And talking about UMD and everything, we have to talk about, you were coached by Shannon Miller, right? Coach Miller.
Yeah.
And she's the one that recruited you and everything. And then obviously huge successful career for both you and her, but 2 times NCAA champ while you were there as well too, right? Talk to us a little bit about Shannon. I know I've heard great stories and positive. I think she's a phenomenal coach. She recruited me, and her ways of recruiting is special, but lovely at the same time. So just give us a little bit brief and how it was to be coached by her, basically.
Yeah, I mean, she was a phenomenal coach. Actually, Carolyn Willette was a big recruiter for me. She was the one that I talked to the most. And honestly, that coaching staff. So my first year, I had Shannon Miller as a head coach, Karell as an assistant coach, and Julie Chu as the other assistant coach. Yeah. And like all year, I remember just thinking, like, how lucky am I? Like, this is so awesome. And Karell was such a good coach. Like, man, she would just break things down, and anything that you needed, she was with the D more. Like if you wanted video anytime, she would do it. If you wanted to stay on the ice longer, she'd do it. And actually because they were still playing at the time, so they would dress a lot of the practices and play with our like fourth line, which ended up being our first line in practice. But so that was really neat too. And just seeing their dedication, because they would maybe, practice with us or coach us. Then they'd go right to the gym and we'd watch them work out. And we're like, whoa, they're doing a lot. I need to be up my game if I want to make Team Canada. So it was really good for me to be around them, and just to see, again, their dedication, their love for the sport just made me want to love the sport more and made me want to work harder. So that coaching staff that's tough to beat. So that was phenomenal. But no, Shannon, like my first year, we only had one senior, and the majority of our team was freshmen and sophomore. So, most people would think this is a rebuilding year. But she had such a way of getting the best out of players, and we ended up winning that year. And like, it was crazy. We beat Wisconsin 4-0 in the final. And it's like, and they had Team USA. Yeah, they had Team USA. Yeah. So no, she did a really good job of, bringing out the best in players, making players feel confident. So she just always did a really good job of that. But she also held us accountable. Like that next year, so we only lost one player. She was on our fourth line. So we had a pretty good team. We come back the next year, we lose a lot of games that we shouldn't have lost. And I mean, we got kicked out of our dressing room. We got,
what? Why are you kicked out of your dressing room?
You probably needed to deserve to be in the locker room.
An honor, right? So it's like we were dressing in like the
pink room, isn't it?
I love that.
Yeah. So we were in our pink room. It was like the visitor dressing room or something.
She painted it pink for the visitors, guys.
Yeah.
Loved it.
And
I love the stories. Like there's some cool stuff.
Yeah. And then our equipment manager had to buy like Canadian Tire, or I guess not Canadian Tire, but like just basically penny jerseys. We weren't even allowed to wear practice jerseys because that's an honor. But
wow.
Yeah. And then, we ended up making Frozen Four that year. And actually our Kim Martine, who's a phenomenal Sweden goalie, she got hurt midway through the year. So I remember it's like, we're struggling. We were starting to like get back to our normal ways. And then she blows out her knee. And then our backup goalie ended up not going to school that year. So our third goalie now is our first goalie. But yeah, she again just does a good job of bringing out the best, and we focused on defense. We would pick up sticks in front, and it was like, it was incredible, because this goalie, she was a good goalie, but let's just say she didn't have the best rebound control. So she would just leave like the juiciest rebounds. But I've never seen a team like pick up sticks, box out, clear pucks. But when you prioritize things and emphasize things, like, and you make players know that they need to do, certain things, like, so she she always like brought out the best in players. She, we knew what she cared about, and you had to do it or else you're going to sit on the bench. So she held us accountable.
That's awesome. I actually love that dressing room story because there are certain little things that you end up taking it for granted. Like, hey, listen, it's an honor. It's a privilege to be here. Like, check yourself.
Well, and people would complain. And I said, we need to just start working hard and winning games, and we'll be right back to that dressing room. Like, this isn't a permanent thing, but this is in our control. So I like to hope that I was, I remember actually just being like, guys, we just need to be better. Like, let's go. This is
like, she's not wrong. Like, we need to just step up, and like, we're not playing our best hockey right now. Right.
Yes. So you just see that kick in the ass, and she definitely needs to do that.
Well, that's huge as a leader too. Like, for you to support that, like, you know what I mean? Like, coaches can try as much as they want, but if there's no one in the locker room supporting those actions, then it's not going anywhere. So,
well, can you imagine if every player was like, screw this, then it was
really tough season for UMD.
They'd still be in the pink room right now, 10 years
probably.
and kind of what Kax is alluding to, like, your mentality in 2010. So you would have been towards the tail end of your time at UMD, right?
I was going into my junior year.
Right. So
2 years with Duluth prior.
So you're in the mix for the Canadian Olympic team for the 2010 Olympics in Vancouver, and you were released from that team. And then that was the year that you came back and you guys won NCAAs.
Yeah.
You did it again, actually. Yeah. I mean, a little less,
pattern,
disappointment, but fast forward 8 years and you went to the 2018 Olympics. Obviously Canada disappointed to bring home the silver is the initial reaction. Yeah. And you came back and I think we were like 2 or 3 days and you were right back on the ice with the Markham Thunder in the PWPHA. Yeah. So tell us about why, what happens in the mind of Juicy J that like, you're like, this freaking sucks. But then you're like, you know what?
Gonna make the best out of
it. I'm just gonna go back and play. Like, talk us through what happens in those years.
So in 2010, when you get released, unfortunately you're just like sent home. So I'm 20, I'm home, I'm feeling sorry for myself. Having some drinks with my friends pretty much every night. And you just kind of, it's actually quite sad. And I was having a tough time. Like I really was. And so I remember a week or two later, I went to school just to visit my friends. So they were playing. I just was like, I just want to see my friends. And, I was in the cool down room and we're chatting and I thought, and I said it out loud. I said, man, I would love to come back. And it was actually Coach Schuler, our assistant coach, just looked at me and said, you could, right? And I didn't know that I could. And I just looked at her and I said, really, I could? And she's like, come with me. So I went to Shannon Miller's room and she's like, you want to come back? And I said, I'm going to have to think about it. I'm going to have to call my parents.
Because then it's like you could have got a redshirt year, right? Where
correct. So
get another year of eligibility. Sorry.
Yeah. So essentially, I could have that was their last games before Christmas, so I could join in January, but then I'd be giving up a full year of eligibility.
Yeah. Right. So
I said, okay, I'll need to think about it, but I honestly knew the answer. I was like, I need to. I don't want to say like move on, but I love playing hockey. I was like, this is just something where I can just keep pushing forward. And if I'm just going to like sit in my parents' basement and drink beers all night, like that's not really pushing forward. So I knew it. Like as soon as Schuler said that I could go back, like a light bulb switched. So I called my parents and they both were like, don't do it. Like you're giving up a full year of eligibility.
Need some time. Yeah.
Yeah. Even my grandpa was like, don't do it. Like, that's crazy. And I just was like, I have to do it. And I think they knew and they just said, okay. But my mom did say, she's like, make sure you can graduate in 3.5 years. And I guess I should figure that out.
I was just going to ask, so what happened to your schooling there? Because you've just missed like basically half of the year, right? So you missed a semester.
My senior year, there were times my senior year where I regretted that decision.
You had to take
That's
more
a future
courses.
Joss problem.
Yes. And fortunately in Duluth, they were fantastic with me. They were, because then in 2011, I went to the World Championships in April, and we were gone for like 6 to 7 weeks. And I remember, and it was in Switzerland. I didn't do any of the sightseeing, and all the girls were like, oh, we went here. And meanwhile, I'm like doing my schoolwork, just being like, why did I do that? No, I'm just kidding. I don't regret it, but it made those next 3 semesters very, very challenging. Yeah. I think I was like 24 credits in my last semester.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I don't know how that works, but that's a ton. That's like probably double the load.
Yeah, I think it was in 8 courses. And and then I took accounting. So, April is like tax season. And one of my courses was doing taxes for people. And I'm like, I'm going to be gone for 7 weeks. So he just somehow just like, I don't know, I passed the course.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So Duluth was very good to me. Shannon had some influence in that too. I mean, she was very influential in Duluth. So she was like, I will make sure that you graduate. And I said, I will hold you to that.
So then you felt like you could make the call of coming back and then playing that season. Yeah. And again, that was not a bad decision. You won.
It was not. And honestly, it was neat because then I got to still graduate with the people that I went in with.
Yeah.
And our team was great. Like they were my best friends. And I was like, I want to be here. Like, I don't want to not be here. So it worked out. But no, I talked to the athletic director, my guidance counselor. We figured out the courses that I would take, and it was like, it can be done. I ended up taking a summer course too here and there, but yeah. So
that's incredible.
And I actually had teammates from Team Canada, like even Karell actually reached out, and a couple others that were like, college hockey is like the best hockey that you're going to be playing, and you're giving half of not half, but you're giving half a year up. Like you think about it, and they basically were like, you shouldn't do it. And I just said, it's something that I feel it inside of me.
Feel good about it.
Yeah, I feel good about it. And I honestly, other than the few times where I was cursing how many courses I was taking, I don't regret it at all.
Oh, that's amazing. And then, like I said, you did it again in 2018, coming back to the CWHL. Talk a little bit about that year, because I know what my year looked like, and it was quite different than yours. But what was it like to come back you guys came back like right before playoffs, basically?
Yeah. I mean, I remember all year, obviously I was watching games and keeping a track. And I was talking to Chelsea quite a bit, and you guys had a tough start of the year. And it didn't look like you guys were going to make playoffs. And I remember telling Chelsea, well, I'm not coming back if you guys aren't making playoffs to play two series and then be done. Yeah. Like, no, and then you guys just went on a hot streak. And I remember then going into the Olympics, I was like, wow, if they keep this up, I'm going to go back because you guys are going to make playoffs. So I think we had to win those last 4 games to make playoffs.
Yeah, it came right down to the wire.
Right down to the wire. Yeah. So, it was kind of funny because for a couple months I thought, no, I'm not going to go back. So initially I'm like, okay, I'd like to go back if the team wants me. That's also tricky too, right? Because you don't want to. I talked to the coaches all year too, and I'm like, it's up to you guys. Like I want to play, but I don't have to play. But you guys were so supportive all year. You guys kept my stall in the dressing room. I was crazy.
It was a shrine.
But that's good. That's good too, right? Like that makes your decision a bit easier too, right? Because I don't know the feeling obviously, but coming back, you don't want to take someone else's spot that's been there all year. And like, it's
nobody wore the C that year because like Joss was our captain. Like, even though she was away, it was like, she's our captain, like literally Joss we trust. And at this point, like I do have to shout out the players, like, the Melissa Ronsberg, Fielding Montgomery, Ellie Seedhouse, the girls that sat out the final, Clarkson Cup final, because they were as much a part of that game. And they will not tell you this, but they were as much part of that game as, Laura Stacey scoring the game winning goal, like to check your ego aside and be like, even though they were there all year, Like they were pumped that we were in the final, and it takes every single person, no matter what your role. So that's my quick shout out to those gals. Jess Hartwick, I believe, was in there too.
Yep.
Just great character on that team. And we had a lot of fun too. So that was also the year, earlier that season, we had Megan Bozek on the show, and Boz came back, I think like just before Christmas. She was like November, December. So, and we talked, we know about her and her dog Boone, and Boone had a birthday at like, it must've been the end of the season, 'cause you were there.
Yep.
And so
the next year, I'm not sure.
It may have been, I was just gonna say it could have been the next year too. So we decided to celebrate Boone's birthday by having everyone on our team bring their dog to practice. And while we were on the ice, Jess Jones was dealing with a bit of an injury. Jonesy stayed in the locker room with like
most responsible one.
Clearly.
With how many dogs do you think? Like 12?
Oh my God.
Easily.
In the little locker room in Markham Barn?
Yes. Yeah.
And like, this is, I mean, we play in the CWHL, so this is like a community rink. I can only imagine what these rink staff were thinking when it was like Noah's Ark, like one dog came in, another dog came in. They're like, what the hell is happening? So tell us about maybe who you brought. Talk about your dog right now. And then, kind of your dog history and what happened that day.
Oh man. So then I had, I still do have, Beck and I still do have 2 dogs, but then we had 2 small dogs. Not great with other dogs. They're 2 small dogs, so they kind of have like little dog syndrome. And whenever they're around big dogs, they get real mad. So I thought, you know what, we're going to be on the ice. It's only going to be Jonesy watching all these dogs. I don't need to bring a dog that's going to like attack big dogs. And then you don't know what those big dogs are going to do. Right. Our roommate has a big dog, and she's great with other dogs. So I said, you know what? I'll bring her. She's wonderful. Her name's Buns. She's a great dog, very kind, like good with other animals. So bring her. She's having a great time. Everyone's loving her. And then all of a sudden, right in the middle of the dressing room too, she like moved to the middle and just takes a shit. And everyone's like yelling, laughing. And I'm just like, oh God. And it was funny. I brought her on a couple walks, and I remember driving to the rink thinking like, she didn't go to the washroom today, so this might be interesting. Oh
no.
I mean, we knew it was going to happen though. Like bring like one of the dogs was going to like pee or poop in the locker room. Like it's just going to happen, or they're going to hump each other. Like I don't know.
Some things.
And poor Jonesy, we just throw her right into the fire. Like, you'll be fine. You're a dog person.
Hour and a half later.
It was so fun. So fun.
Great birthday party. We got some good pictures. Every dog by the like owner's stall. That was so cute.
Oh, wow.
It was really cute. We should do it again sometime. And I wanted to talk to you, and it's kind of another CW story, but we haven't really talked to too many guests about actually going to China.
No, I was going to say, we've not dodged the topic, or no one really got to it, but there's some good stories from, I think, every single team that have been there. And we have some good ones too. And I'm looking forward to hear this one, actually.
Like, to give the listeners a little bit of a background. So the 2 teams from China entered in the CWHL in the second last season. And basically like each team would take a trip over to Shenzhen. Yeah. And we were there for maybe 9 or 10 days.
Yeah. 7 to 10 days.
Yeah. So, and then we would play both of those teams. We ended up playing, I think 5 games, 4 or 5 games, something like that. So it's like really like by the time you land there, you're in a time change. It's like a 17-hour flight. Like the first time we went, it was literally like we landed at 10 a.m. like in China time. And then we were playing that night at like 7 o'clock at night. Like we were all I remember seeing the locker room and Nicole Brown, like it was kind of quiet. And Brownie's just like, I feel funny. We're like, okay, good. Like all of us felt so like your diet's off. You haven't really been sleeping. You're in a different time zone, different country. It was crazy, but we did get to do some cool things while we were there. And one of them was we got to walk through a lot of their forests. They have like really cool Buddhist temples kind of buried in their national parks. So we would adventure in and, we're trying to find these temples. And do you want me to tell a story, Joss, or do you want to tell a story?
It's up to you.
Well, Joss is like, okay, she's like the quiet, like she's our even keel leader. That's why we would never take her solo, because she's just, she's very calm. She's very mature, but we're on this walk and she is like taking a little stick when people aren't looking and like ruffling the bushes behind us. And I can't remember who, so it was freaking somebody out so much.
Ratty.
It was
Oh, typical.
So funny. She was screaming. She almost fell. And Jonesy too, actually.
So you would just shake.
I would kind of like throw the stick and be like, there's a snake. And then they would just like lose their mind. But I did it so much and I'm like, how can you still think that this is real? But there was a sign though that said beware of snakes.
Okay.
So I got, yeah.
It was just setting the scene.
Joss is. I actually put the sign up.
No, but it was such a fun trip. All things, especially Kax, that you and I had to fight for that season and argue from a players board standpoint. It was a cool trip to be a part of.
Very cool one. Yeah. It was a culture shock at times. And again, the first year, like we played right away, no one had legs or anything. The second year they tried to do better, but even the first year, like we were in this sick hotel, like the treatments was actually really, really, really nice. And we got to go to Cirque du Soleil for us because they were there. I don't know. It's a Montreal company too. So they invited us. It was just like, it was like a Cloud9 situation. So China was a good experience. And obviously there's a bar called House as well too, or club there. I don't know.
Is that the one with the trampoline?
The bouncy floor.
Yeah.
I don't understand how no one got hurt.
I never made it there, but Kristen tells a great story about how she was like up on a table at one point. And I think
oh yeah. And as soon as you walk in, people are like, whoa. Like, whoa. There's 10 white girls.
White people.
And then the bottles were coming. We're like, hey, we're not famous, but we'll take it. Like whatever.
Yeah.
And the dance floor was, I don't know if you heard, but it was like 4 feet higher than the rest of the floor.
Okay.
About 10 to 12 people could fit on it and it was bouncing. But then people were trying to like give like on a trampoline, you get the rebound and
you get super
higher.
Bounce. Yeah.
It was so stupid. Like you're drunk on this and people are just like, try, boom. And then the person would go higher. I'm like, someone's going to hurt themselves. We play tomorrow or in 2 days. Oh, it was just, a whole new level of experience.
It was interesting. That's for sure. Yeah,
it was wild. Yeah, and so fun. Like I would love to get one of the girls who played like a couple seasons over there because like a huge culture shock, like you say. But it was so much fun and such a unique opportunity, I think, to play there. So we've talked a little bit about. We've barely touched on honestly your time with the national team.
Yeah, you should go to it.
And one of the things, like I was looking back, so that year that you were released in 2009, just before the 2010 Olympics, you and Brianne Jenner were actually kind of released at the same time. Yeah. And now you're both captains on this team. So like, this is like started from the bottom, and now you're here. Like it's really cool to see that you, like, all of these athletes have gone through great disappointment and, great challenges and had to figure out what they would do after being released. So talk us through, I guess, your, 14, 18 and 22 Olympic years. I know that's a lot to talk about, maybe not all at once, but just kind of your journey from that initial disappointment and now being recognized and depended on as a leader on this team.
Yeah. I mean, 2009, that was difficult, right? Like You're so close to your dream. I remember initially just feeling like I let my family and my friends down and really like myself down. But after reflecting, it's like in life, you just got to go for it. And I knew that every day throughout centralization, I worked my butt off. I was a good teammate. I did everything that I could in my control. So, did I learn some things? Of course. But I'm actually fortunate, like I'm actually happy that I went through that because it gave me like an extra fire that I didn't even know that I had. So, on any hard days where, you're like, I don't feel like training today, I would remember that feeling. And I'm like, I don't want that to happen again. So it honestly gave me more motivation than I even thought possible. And I still use it as motivation today. And that's oh my gosh, that's more than 10 years ago. It's like 13 years ago.
13, crazy.
Yeah, so like I still use it as motivation. So honestly, I'm like thankful for that disappointment. And it's taught me to just work harder than I ever thought I could. So, so I mean, it was obviously disappointing, but anything in life, you can learn from it, you can grow from it, you can be better from it. And I try to use that kind of everywhere in my life, whether it's hockey or my career or even relationships. So, and then fortunately 4 years later, I did make it. And, to get told that you're going to the Olympics, I remember just bawling, and I'm not much of a crier.
No, not at all.
No. And
Tell us about this.
They pull you in a room, and, that night before you can't sleep because you're like, wow, it's either I'm going to hear the same news that I heard 4 years ago or the best news in the world. And fortunately, I heard the best news in the world. So, and fortunately, I've been the last 3 Olympics, and it doesn't matter if you've been there before. Like when you get told that you're going, it's like, yeah, it's just so many emotions, but a lot of like joy and happiness. And even this year when it was virtual, I know the coaches were a little bit concerned, like, should we wait until we can do it in person? But with COVID, it's like, you know what? It's still going to be special. Like whether you're told virtually or in person, it's like, it's the message that's important. So yeah.
And you've traveled a lot, obviously, on these teams and trying to make these teams and outside of the national team as well. So is there any travel disaster story that you have? Because I mean, I know even just going to China was a journey for most of us, but do you have any funny stories of, travel gone sideways?
I mean, coming back from Beijing was a little bit tough. I mean, all of it though, the whole time we're like, you know what, we're coming back with a gold medal. So like things could be worse. But we had to go to the airport like 5 or 6 hours before, because I'm sure they have to like check everything. So that was like standard. Get to Vancouver, rush or we were a couple hours delayed. So we landed in Vancouver, and it's like, we thought, okay, we can go have a nice like dinner, like have, a couple beers, like just be able to relax, have some Canadian food. And then it's like, no, you got to get right to your flight. So I think I stopped to the washroom, went right on the plane. Then we sat on the plane for like 4.5 hours. There was a bunch of like, one thing, it was the maintenance check. I'm not sure. I was kind of in and out of sleeping, but I'm like, okay, why are we going? And then they kind of go around and they just like gave us a bag of peanuts, and like, that's all they gave us. And I'm just like, I am so hungry.
Now don't eat too much, because
eat one cashew every 30 minutes, and then
you're rationing your food.
Right? And then it's a 4-hour flight. So we were supposed to get in, I think, in Toronto at around like 8 p.m. And then we got in at like 1. And then that whole night I didn't sleep, and I was pretty jet lagged for like a week after Beijing. I don't do great with jet lag. So yeah, that was a tough week, but with a gold medal, so things could be.
It probably. Yeah, exactly. That's
like, I can't imagine too many people feeling sorry for us. So sorry for you.
Woe is me.
Yeah.
Well, we wanted you guys to come back and have it easy too. Like, I mean, with everything you guys went through prior to getting there, like COVID and everything and beyond, like, just happy you all made it there and all made it back, and didn't have to stay an extra, 14 days or whatever.
Definitely. Yeah, that worked out really good. It was pretty stressful before, just with the whole, like, if you get COVID, like, it's going to be real tough to get to Beijing. And then if you get to Beijing, you're pulled out if you get COVID. So that was, honestly, it was tough for me. And I find I'm pretty good at like focusing on what I can control and not like kind of the noise, I can push it aside. But COVID's kind of its own like new beast that I had to, it was definitely challenging. Not just for me, for all the athletes.
Oh, I bet. Mentally,
of course.
You're doing everything you possibly can, and you can't control that one, as you're saying. Like, it's okay. We don't know. Hopefully, Like you hope for the best. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. There was a few of us that took extra rapid tests, and we were taking them at night, and like,
it's a full on like paranoia that set in, especially when you have so much on the line. Like you've just committed 4 years to this moment, and you don't want to miss it. On the chance that you got sick. So, talking about controlling what you can control, and Kax and I, just before you came on, we were actually talking a little bit about your style of play. And I like it, if I was the center screen here, because I know Joss will be in the middle, but if I was the center screen, like I'm between probably two of the most, I'll say, disliked defensemen to play against.
I'm not a true D, but
you're right. You're right.
I will say that Joss is, in my book, the nicest person off the ice, but like it's tough to play against Joss, and I know I'm going to get hit if I get to that corner, and I know it's going to happen. It's just like our style of play, I guess. So my question, what was that?
I said I'd say the same about Kax.
Right, exactly. Like you guys are two peas in a pod here. So my question is there an opponent on the ice that you would be surprised, or you were surprised maybe to find out was really nice off the ice?
Well, probably. Can I say Kax?
Of all your opponents,
the reputation continues.
I know we're. I guess we have an intensity on the ice. Let's put it that way, right? Yeah. Like I when the game is over, it's different. But during the game, like I want to win and I want to protect everyone on my team as best as I can. Yeah. I think.
Or go ahead.
No, go for it. Go for it.
I was just going to say, like, for me, I know there's times where people are like, oh, do you like think about what players are on the ice? And I honestly only think about the ones that are going to be super aggressive, because you've just got to they just have like a different gear. So,
yeah.
And the best is like when we played in Markham, there was sometimes like Joss would be going into the corner with somebody who like she clearly had more strength than, and like Joss does this thing sometimes to try to avoid getting penalties where like she'll take the player out, but then she'll like
fall with it.
Have to fall, because it's like, well, if I don't fall, I'm going to get 5 minutes. Like
I lost my balance a bit.
Becca King does it too, because Becca King's a freaking like unit. Like she doesn't look very big, but she's tough. Oh, yeah. You guys have to find your way to like play aggressively without taking penalties every play.
Fortunately, in female hockey, it's tough to defend, because it's like you can play the body, but you can't. And unfortunately, a lot of times penalties get called if the player falls.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So there's lots of times where I'm defending. I'm like, don't get a penalty, don't get a penalty, don't get a penalty, don't get a penalty.
Same. Oh my God.
Right?
Same thinking. I'm like, I'm going in the corner with Richards right now. It's going to be one. I know it. I got to stick out. Something's going to happen.
I didn't hit him that hard. I promise.
I promise. Yeah, and like by stature, you're not, how tall are you? Like 5'5", 5'6"?
Yeah, about that.
Yeah. So it's not like you're, neither of you guys are tall people going into the corner, but you've been hitting those weights. And so we'll talk about, your business. I mean, I think it's really cool that you do have a full-time job, outside of being an Olympian. This is something that for our listeners that this is, pretty unique, because most of our Olympic athletes, they're able to focus on their job as an athlete, and then their time away from the rink is, kind of theirs to utilize, whether it's appearances or whatever that may be. But you own and operate, and I'm sure do the accounting for your business, Stoke Strength and Conditioning. So talk us through, first of all, how the gym started and where you guys are, and, give a little self-promotion to start.
Perfect. Yeah, I'll do that. We have two locations, one in Hamilton and one in Cambridge, Ontario. And we opened the Hamilton location first in 2015. Yeah, so it's been 7 years now. And it's actually in a rink. Myself, Becca King, my business partner, and Amy Coates. So there's three of us. We just had a dream of just wanting to open up a gym, do a lot of hockey programs. But I guess first thing I had to obviously be honest and make sure that they know that my priority has to be hockey if I want to continue to play on the national team. I can't half-ass it and expect to make any team really. So they know that hockey needs to be my priority, and they're so supportive. I've missed a lot of work in the last 7 years. They're very supportive. And so we open up a gym in a rink, and we run a lot of camps, private lessons for hockey. So it kind of has like two streams. One's more like adult fitness, just like general fitness for kids too, and then kind of a hockey stream. So that's where I primarily am. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. I get to work with kids, all ages, all abilities. So I really like it. I'm really passionate about coaching, and I love being able to give back to the game that's given so much to me, and try to just teach young kids, just try to help them chase their dreams. So I feel really lucky, and it's kind of nice because I get to, I make sure that things work with my hockey schedule. Or if not, then I just get someone else to do it. So, so
it was really funny, Kax, when I went, when I had the stupid idea that I was going to do the CrossFit Open this year. This pretty much happens every year. I donate $25 to CrossFit. I do one workout, and then I'm like, fuck this. But I had to go to like a recognized gym, and Jocelyne, Becca King, and Amy have been so kind this year to do my programming for me at home, but I wanted to go to their gym to do the Open. So I had a very highly qualified judge, Joss.
Yeah.
And so we did the Open, and then I was leaving the gym, and one of their clients, an adult, she came in, and she was just like, "Oh, I'm here for the 4:30 class." And Joss is like, "Oh, I'm sorry. Like, that's actually the 5:30 class. You're a little bit early." And the lady's like, "I've never seen you before." And Joss is like, "Oh, I'm Jocelyne. Like, I'm, one of the three owners." And she's like, "You're Jocelyne Larocque?" She's like, "Yep." She's like, "You just came back from the Olympics." Joss is like, "Yeah, like I flew in yesterday." And she's like, "Oh my God." And she was just starstruck. And just so happened to be the same time that like I was leaving the gym. So I was like, "All right, Joss, like I'll see you." Get out to the parking lot. This lady's like, "Do you know that you train with an Olympic athlete?" I was like, "I know." Every time I walk in there, my heartbeat races. But it speaks to the fact that like you're just so humble. Dedication. And and you're there, and they, they're so lucky to get to know you and train with you and train under you. The gym is fantastic. Both facilities are amazing. I highly recommend anybody in I guess it would be Southwestern Ontario.
I think that would be like
Tri-Cities area.
Yes.
Hamilton, Kitchener, Waterloo, Cambridge.
Yep.
It's a great facility, and very open, very flexible with their clients. So if you want to be training at home, they'll do that. If you want to come to the gym, they'll do that. If you want to be training on Mars, I'm sure they'd figure something out for you.
Well,
we love it. We love to see it. And especially over COVID, we will talk about kind of the challenges that you guys face as same as Menu, when we had her on, just trying to adapt and overcome when it came to the restrictions and not being able to be in person. So tell us a little bit about how you stayed involved in the community.
Yeah, it was obviously challenging for any small business owner. Our goal was just to not fold and not have to just like end our business. So we achieved that. No, we just had to be creative. Woo! Yes, thank you. Very happy with that. But no, we had to be creative. And unfortunately, the three of us aren't like super into like social media and aren't very like tech savvy. But no, we took a lot of our programs. Either you could do them at home, and we rented out for free our equipment, or we did like
rented out for free.
For free. I know. I was like, there's a word for that. I'm not let borrow. There we go, borrow. And then we also ran a kids program for free for kids. So any kid that wanted to do it, we had Zoom workouts, and then we also had workouts where we kind of just explained it on a video, and they could do it at home. So just to try to keep kids active, give them something to do throughout the lockdown. So we did that as well. So it was busy, but it was, it just kept us at least engaged in the community, and also allow our clients to still be able to train, obviously not ideally, but still be able to. So it was definitely challenging is the right word, but we made it through. And now hopefully COVID is somewhat behind us, but hopefully fully behind us. So
Yeah. Well, I'm sure the kids appreciate it. I know the parents appreciated it. And you guys can check out Stoke Strength Conditioning, STOKE, on the website, Instagram. You guys are on social media, so check it out. You might see some familiar faces lifting some heavy things and putting them down. Joss, Juicy J, that's all the time we have for today. But thank you so much for coming on. And we look forward to seeing you more in the coming weeks, years, months, however long hockey continues to carry you.
Yeah, that sounds great. Thank you so much for having me, you guys.
Thanks, and of course, we still have one more tour stop.
That's
on
right.
the Secret Dream Gap tour with the PWPHA. Kax?
Yes. So everyone, the Cortex Showcase is happening this weekend in Montreal, the 2nd and 3rd of April. It's at the Center 2102, which is in Verdun. So for all my Montreal listener here, please come to the game. It's going to be fabulous. We have 4 teams coming. Obviously Montreal, Minnesota, Boston, and Calgary. So again, with their respective name, Team Adidas, Team Bauer, and Team Scotiabank, plus Team Harvey's, your Montreal favorite. But if you want to get weekend passes or tickets, simply go on PWPHA.com and you'll be able to access the ticket sales. And we want to sell out the rink, and I'm sure some of our Toronto friends will be there as well too. So you might see some familiar faces as well. So
I'm coming for the finals. I want to see who takes home the final Bottega Gold. So we'll see you there, Kax. Joss, if you're able to make it, we'll see you. And again, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Jazz.
The Knoxy and Kax Show on SDPN, produced in partnership with the PWPHA. Follow Knoxy and Kax on Twitter at 27Knoxy and at Karell Emard. The views expressed are those of the individuals and are not necessarily those of the PWPHA. Check out sdpn.ca for more Knoxy and Kax and the rest of the SDPN crew.
She scores!